Hello and welcome to LSO Summer Shorts live from LSO St Luke's. My name is Andra East and I'm the head of LSO Discovery. It's a great delight and pleasure to welcome an online audience to this concert today. We were hoping to have a live audience with us today. As of today, we've had to pause the indoor audience pilot program that we were working on together with the DCMS in line with government guidance. But we hope that you enjoy the stream wherever you are watching from. These series of concerts have been made possible by a bequest by the late Ms Denise Antenen, who was a regular attender of concerts here at St Luke's. We are also grateful to the support of our technical partner, Yamaha Professional Audio. Lots of you have been supporting the LSO during this time via LSO Always Playing. If you wish to continue your support, you can make a donation via the LSO website or via text, the details of which you'll be able to see on your screen. At the end of this performance, there will be an opportunity for a Q&A with our performers. So if you're watching this, please feel free to share your questions with us via the live chat. It remains for me now just to introduce our performers. Carmine Lauri is the co-leader of the London Symphony Orchestra, and he is joined by his daughter, Francesca Lauri. The first piece they will be performing is DeFalla's Danse Espagnol. Please welcome Carmine and Francesca Lauri.
choose as many pieces to have a contrasting program. I managed to squeeze in 7 pieces into the program and musically take us on a tour through Spain, Austria, Russia, France, America, mixed with African roots, Italy, and Poland. When it comes to salon bravura music, one cannot leave out 2 musicians. One of them is Fritz Kreisler, and the other one is Jascha Heifetz, to whom I pay a tribute to in this concert. The piece we just heard was in fact one of the many compositions that Fritz Kreisler arranged for violin and piano. He composed many original compositions, as well as numerous arrangements from various pieces by other composers. Our next 2 pieces will be Tchaikovsky's Melodie and Lili Boulanger's Cortège, 2 short encore pieces that were amongst the many that the great Jascha Heifetz played to perfection, and who is someone that us violinists owe so much debt of gratitude towards him. The Melody by Tchaikovsky is one of 3 pieces that make up a set of pieces titled Memory of a Dear Place. And the Boulanger Cortège found itself in the program thanks to my daughter, Francesca, who requested that we should include also a female composer, and immediately this short piece came to mind. It only lasts just under 1 minute and a half, but it was the trickiest to put together for some reason. We believe it's important to start showcasing female composers and sharing the amazing music that has been perhaps forgotten. Thank you.
Our next piece is Cantabile by Paganini. Paganini was famous for his technical abilities on the violin. He composed music to show his virtuosic technique, and these included 6 violin concertos, solo caprices, and many more. This cantabile, however, is void of any technical difficulties on the violin, but is very beautiful. It's a short composition that is widely used as an encore piece in recitals. It is also sometimes performed with a guitar, and originally it is believed to have been written for guitar and violin due to the nature of the piano accompaniment. Our second piece is Levee Danse by Clarence Cameron White. In contrast to the cantabile, this was made famous by the great Jascha Heifetz. Cameron White draws upon African American influences and styles in his music. In this piece, he quoted the powerful melody Go Down Moses, which is a spiritual tune sung by gospel choirs. There is also a playful alternative between F major and F minor, which is clear in the piano accompaniment, bringing out a blue note chromaticism. There is also a jazzy syncopated rhythm throughout the piece. We would also like to take this opportunity to thank our colleague and violinist Dunya Lavrova, who not only helped with the republication of this piece, but also made this music available for us today. Thank you.
The last two works in this program were composed by two of my favorite composers since my childhood. Both composed music to show off their virtuosity or pay tribute to their respective countries. Pablo de Sarasate composed around 54 works, mostly music with Spanish flavor, and music that were given titles such as Malagueña, Habanera, Jota Aragonesa, Zapateado, Serenata Andaluza, Romanza Andaluza, and so on. However, he never composed a violin concerto, but a number of composers dedicated their concertos to him, including Henryk Wieniawski with his second violin concerto, Lalo with his Symphony Espagnol, Bruch, Scottish Fantasy, and Saint-Saëns' Introduction and Rondo Capriccioso. I have to say that although I love performing his works, at times I find that his style of writing doesn't suit my hands as much as Wieniawski's does, due to the fact that Pablo de Sarasate had very small hands. So it's quite a challenge for those that have bigger hands to go around the fiddle. However, it has not stopped me discovering more of his music, and shall carry on doing so. Henryk Wieniawski, on the other hand, composed works such as polonaises, mazurkas, souvenirs of places that he performed, such as Poznan or Moscow, and two wonderful violin concertos, the second in D minor being the more popular and relatively easier one, whereas the fiendishly difficult first violin is a right challenge for us. His output as a composer was probably as much as Pablo de Sarasate's. However, sadly, lots of his music remained unpublished or simply lost, which is a great shame. Their music, together with their contemporaries, should always be in our repertoire, and I encourage all violinists not to neglect their music and present it in their recitals, and help each other to bring the golden age of violin playing back. The two pieces we are going to perform are Pablo de Sarasate's Jota Aragonesa, followed by Henryk Wieniawski's Polonaise in D. Many thanks.
Thank you so much, Carmine and Francesca, for bringing this wonderful program of music to LSO St Luke's. While you just catch your breath after that, I'm going to just remind our online audience, we now have an opportunity for questions for our performers. So if you have any questions that you desperately want answered, then please feel free to put them in the live chat, and I will see them here and ask them of our performers. So to kick off, I wanted to ask, Carmine, you've been working now for a long time without your orchestra, without the London Symphony Orchestra, and I wanted to ask you what you have been able to do during lockdown. What have you been doing? Concerts from your kitchen?
Kitchen, living room, every room in the house practically, But I kept busy recording at home, both for the London Symphony Orchestra. I was doing these coffee sessions, and also for the Malta Philharmonic. I was doing a series every Saturday. But I wasn't just busy playing the violin. I also got into my hobby, which is basically repairing vintage tape recorders and all this stuff. So and doing some cooking as well. So I tried to keep as busy as possible.
You've been very busy, absolutely. Francesca, how about you? What have you been able to do in lockdown time?
Well, I've been preparing for this. We've also done a few videos which are online now together as well. And just getting ready for my third year at Trinity, because we didn't really get to finish the second year, obviously. So just preparing and practicing. And taking a rest, I think, as well.
Really nice. Thank you. We've got a question from one of our audience members. So the question is it more or less stressful as a performer to be live streaming without an audience in the room?
I think it was less stressful, actually. I thought it was going to be more difficult, actually, because we're so used to, hearing clapping and coming on and seeing people. But I felt a lot more relaxed having just us two, space. It felt like we were just recording more than performing.
Yeah.
So it's great that we can put the two together.
Yeah.
We also have done another concert at 11 o'clock. So it gave us a chance to sort of
warm up
and get ready for this one.
Fantastic. We've got another question from the online audience. So there's curiosity about the fact that you are a family duo. You are father and daughter. Very good question. Who influences whom? So how did this come together? How does this work as a father-daughter relationship when you're playing music together and preparing for a program like this together?
We didn't actually have a lot of rehearsal time beforehand. So I think a lot of it was just understanding what the other is doing. Obviously, a lot of my music was a lot of following the violin, who has, he has a lot of notes, and it's just about feeling the music together. I think we did it joint. I don't think we were following each other most
This
of
is
the time.
our debut, in fact, for a live audience of such a grand scale. So I am really proud of Francesca. She's done incredibly well. She supported me throughout the whole program, and I'm over the moon. I really feel that. I'm really satisfied with what we've just done now, and may we do many more of these.
That's lovely to hear. That's so wonderful. Another question from our audience. What has been most challenging as musicians during lockdown?
I think for me is the fact that we do not perform to an audience. There's always a fear that the longer we wait, the more difficult it is for us to get back on stage. Yeah. Because after all, we are human, and we all suffer from a little bit of tension and all that. So the more we are away from a live audience, it just makes it a little bit more difficult, perhaps. So, but.
I had a completely different experience, actually, because as a pianist, I do a lot of accompanying work and a lot of collaborative work with singers, but also violinists. And over the lockdown, obviously I haven't been able to see them, but I've had lots of people asking me, if I can, record some stuff for them to play along to. And I'm putting together a showcase of some of my singers, and we're going to play together. But recording piano accompaniments without your fellow musician is incredibly difficult, because I'm so used to following and working with someone, and suddenly it's all up to me to think about speed and and send in recordings. So it's been just a complete switch of working.
Yeah. A question from Sebastian, who's been watching online, asking, why did you choose these particular pieces? How did this program come together?
It was really difficult to decide on 7 pieces. Half an hour is really a short time. And the average piece is what, 3-4 minutes, some of them a little bit more, and some of them less. And I thought, how many pieces can I play? And also the fact that we've got to speak in between cuts down on the time. Yeah. And so we managed to fit 7 pieces. When it comes to this sort of repertoire, Wieniawski has to be there for me every time, followed by Sarasate. I think the fact that I am Mediterranean, this sort of music lived with me since practically I was born. So it's what's very close to my heart, So of course I've got to put Paganini, I've got to put Tchaikovsky, I've got to put music that's got great melodies, great harmonies. Yeah. That's what's in my heart.
Quick question. Which one is the most difficult piece for both Carmine and Francesca? Which was the most difficult?
It's a difficult question because some of them are more difficult technically for me, and others were more difficult in terms of getting the musicality together. I'd say that the Lili Boulanger piece is probably the most demanding, just because it's so transparent. You can hear every note. Yeah. And I just wanted to add in that I decided that we should put in a piece by Lili, because I think it's so incredibly important now that we start showcasing music, not just by all of the great composers, but the great female composers as well, which we don't hear about. I think it's so important. There's so much out there that we don't listen to. So I think that's also a reason why we really wanted to include this piece.
Yeah. Fantastic. And Carmine, which was the most difficult for you?
They all present their own difficulties. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to technicalities, I mean, of course, you've got Sarasate, you've got, left-hand pizzicato, you've got double stops, and as I explained earlier, Sarasate had very small hands, so the more we go up on the instrument, and you've got, my hand is relatively big, it becomes a real challenge. Yeah. Wieniawski has had his own, I mean, the Polonaise I must have performed 100 times by now, it's been one of my very, very favorite pieces ever, and I shall probably carry on playing this piece till I can play the violin, and I always discover new things in it, but it's got its own difficulties. It's got, tenths, finger octaves, you've got above staccato, you've got all sorts of things. Yeah. And then you've got obviously the interpretational side of other pieces, the delicacy of the Tchaikovsky melody. I mean, those are other difficulties, maybe not so technical, but it's just, okay, how can I communicate my feelings to the audience? Yeah. So that's another sort of challenge, and to sell it, basically. Yeah.
We have a question this time from Maple, who is age 10. She wants to know, what is your favourite piece for you to perform together as father and daughter?
Well, we've performed 7 together so far. 7 ever, so out of these 7...
Which one did you like most?
Yeah.
I think my favourite was probably the Wieniawski to do together, because I also have a share of, virtuosic piano accompaniment as well in the middle. I mean, a lot of componists actually cut half of the solo, the orchestral solo from the middle. But I think this is our time to shine as well. Yeah. We're just as important as the violinists. So I really enjoyed how we both have, difficult bits to play, but also apart from each other.
Yes.
We left the best to last, I think.
Fantastic. So I think that's about all we have time for today. So thank you again to the online audience for joining us here today and for sending in your questions. Just to remind you that this concert series will continue with the streams for the next few weeks. So do follow the LSO website for updates on those concerts. But for now, thank you once again to Carmine and Francesca.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to you for watching at home, and hope you have a great weekend.